My name is Rada. I am a cultural journalist here in Lithuania, and I will be moderating this discussion on how to become a cosplayer with these 4 beautiful guests from Poland and Netherlands. And maybe for starters, just introduce yourselves, tell your names, where you're from, and what are you wearing today.
Shall I start? Okay, hi guys. My name is Sophie. I am one half of Team Paraluna and I'm from the Netherlands. And today I'm wearing Triss from The Witcher 3.
Hi, I'm Lisa and I'm the other half of Team Paraluna, and today I am wearing Ciri from The Witcher as well.
Hey guys, I'm also representing Team Witcher here. I'm wearing this series. And I'm called Shabby. Hello.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm owner of Crafts of Two fan page, and you could see me today as a Garus. I'm from also Poland, like Shabby.
So you 2 guys are a team. How does a cosplayer team work? I mean, why are you a team?
Why are we a team?
I don't know.
Well, it's just double the fun. I mean, we support each other and we play video games together, and then we choose our characters from that usually. So we like playing like a hero and a villain, get a little bit of the dynamic in there. And also with crafting, like if I really don't like doing something, I let her do it, and the other way around as well.
Yeah, it actually always works out fine because we actually have a lot of overlap in techniques, but there are a lot of things that I really like doing and she doesn't like it as much. Like I'm really into making armor, and she's as well. Like we have the same skills and techniques, but just the things that we like to do most, those are different. Like she really likes to sew, and I'm all like, I have to sit behind a sewing machine. And I just really like to do armor, and she's sometimes like, oh, this darn armor, like you try it. But also traveling together is really nice, like because we always work together. Like when we go to finals, like in China and Japan and stuff, we are always together, and that does like she already said, it's double the fun.
How did you start working together?
Well, I fell in love with her, so that helped.
Yeah, I met her at my first convention. At first, we became friends, and yeah, we fell in love, and then yeah, we turned out to also have the same hobby, so it was all good.
Shapi, maybe a question for you. Just for starters, why is it awesome to be a cosplayer?
Well, I get to dress into different character every convention. That's cool. Also, I love putting my fingers in the glue and getting burnt, and you know, put different weird shit on my face. No, it's just a lot of fun. Actually, conventions for me, and I mean, cosplaying at the conventions is so much fun because of the people we meet. And I believe that without cosplay, without making the first costume like a few years ago, I wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be able to meet so many amazing people like like you guys and people here, my friends. So yeah, it's just a very cool thing that happens to me in life.
In your social media, I saw a really long list of the conventions that you have visited. Maybe you have counted how many countries have you visited with cosplay?
No. Well, I only counted my costumes because I have like a list of costumes I made. It's like about 70 right now, but I never counted the countries, honestly.
Yeah, but the traveling, opportunities to travel is also a really cool thing about cosplay, right?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Opportunity to travel. Yeah.
It's actually amazing. Like, I feel like travels really made me who I am right now, because if you see so many communities, so many people, so many different, ways to cosplay and ways to like feel and see cosplay, do cosplay, it's really making you develop yourself and develop your skills. Also being a judge, for example, in a convention, also you can see the costumes from people, you can just actually learn. When you're seeing the other people doing their amazing costumes, and you just can see and like learn from them, really it goes double way for us.
Okay, and Michael, question for you. You're not really dressed up as a cosplayer today, but you have your mask, and I know that you're kind of famous for your crafting your masks, right? How did it start?
Yes, masks are my favorite thing to do, and helmets, but it starts very easily. Money doesn't hold to me very much, so I decided once upon a time to make something for myself. I cannot afford for Iron Man helmet, so I decided to make it myself. I was also always like art enthusiast, so paintings, sculptures, model making. So I decided to try, and the helmet came out very nice for myself. And I started to make more masks, more helmets. And after that, I've met my girlfriend, who showed me what is the cosplay, because until this moment, I'm just making props, and I haven't known what is the cosplay. She told me what it is, and that I could make a full costume, and I was so surprised that people are making costumes and go to conventions. I've never been to the convention. She took me to my first convention. I've made my first costumes, and that it starts to grow inside my heart, and now it's become my life.
That's cool. A quick note for our audience: if you have any questions, just raise your hand. You'll get a microphone, and you can ask your questions. So, a question for all of you: how did you came up with the first idea of cosplaying?
Okay. I just wanted to learn how to sew because I was a really big fan of Lolita clothing, like they're really cute little dresses. So a friend of mine, she said like, oh, I'll teach you how to sew. And then a few weeks in, after she taught me the basics, she was all like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do this big Kingdom Hearts group, and you are all coming with me to this convention. And I just figured like, okay, sure, whatever. So we made all the organization 13. We had almost the entire group. And that's when I sort of started, like I went to this convention and I had such a good time. And then I just figured like, oh, I want to keep on doing this. And like now, 8 years later, I have still never made a Lolita dress, but I did keep on cosplaying.
Yeah, for me, it's actually, I started because of my grandparents, because I was in high school and I visited them every summer, and that summer they were like, I think you're, like, we don't really know what to do, like, it seems like you're no longer the age to, like, go to, like, a playground or something, and I was like, no, I'm not. And my grandmother really likes to sew, and my grandfather likes building stuff, you know, from wood and stuff. And we just sort of worked together on my first costume. And I actually didn't even know it was like a hobby that a lot of people did. I just felt like, oh, this is so much fun. Like I learned sewing and making stuff out, you know, like building stuff. And then my aunt said, like, hey, did you know that there are actually events where people show off these sorts of costumes? And like, yeah, you three worked so hard on this. You should show it off. And she bought me a ticket, and then I went there, and yeah, I met her, and I met so many amazing people. And actually last week, my grandmother said to me like, oh, I'm just so proud that I was there at the moment that this whole hobby started, because now you're like flying to Lithuania and like flying to like lots of countries, like, yeah, it's amazing. And she sometimes calls me about that, like, do you remember when you were like only like 6 years ago now, like, oh, when you were in high school and we started that? And like, yeah, I do.
For me, it started totally, a bit weird way, because I was attending anime and manga conventions in Poland since I was like about 13 or something, and I didn't really go to the cosplay competitions. I just knew it exists, but I never really thought about that. Once I went to a competition, I saw someone wearing, you know, like fake boobs from the balloons and a wig from the, you know, the paper. I was like, these people are crazy. And a few years later, actually, I went to another convention, and my friend like brought me like with force to this competition to see the cosplayers. And I saw one of our Polish friends, Kairi. I think you guys know her, and she was cosplaying in a beautiful dress, like she was looking like $1 million, like she was like princess. And then I decided maybe I can pull it off somehow and look like those normal guys, like not the balloon guys. And I just asked my mother to help me with the first dress, and here I am.
For me, it was very strange because I already make props for 3 years when I decided to make my first costume. And basically it was like it was my girlfriend who brought me to the cosplay world. I was unknown of the rules of cosplay making. I've started to watch the internet because in the internet, YouTube, RPF forum, there's a ton of materials that you can learn of. And I decided to make for Halloween Witch King costume from Lord of the Rings. And then I went for my first convention in Krakow. It was Krakon. It was very strange because I was a little bit different because this was an anime convention, and I in Witch King costume was a little bit standing out from other people. But it was a very fun opportunity to meet people and be with other cosplayers was so surprising for me that I decided to make another costume for Pirkon, and it starts to grow up. I've met Shapi then, so it's basically I'm in here today. It's because of her. No, she's very kind person, and she'll always support me. So I will be very grateful for that.
So you can say that one of the best things about cosplaying is that there is kind of community that you can fit in, right? Do you find many friends, many acquaintances with cosplay?
Yeah, I think a really good example was when we were in Japan. I was talking to the representatives from Thailand, and they didn't speak English that well, but because we were talking about cosplay, we really understood each other like so well. And there was really this moment where she was also all like that she almost couldn't believe that we could have such a good conversation, actually a deep conversation about a hobby we both like, even though we're from two completely different countries. And this was really a moment where it's like, wow, it really brings a lot of people together.
Yeah, it's like a common language almost. I've also met people who I could not communicate with at all because, for instance, they only spoke Spanish and I don't speak Spanish at all. But we were cosplaying from the same game, so then you just recognize each other and you're like, friend, yes.
So why do you think some people would like to start cosplaying but somehow struggle? What are their fears, maybe?
We should ask them. They came here to ask questions, maybe. They got any fears to start cosplay?
So I wanted to ask...
Please speak to the microphone.
Okay. How long does it take to make a costume like this, you're wearing right now? I believe it will differ for the guy, you know. So how long does it take? How much you spend on average on one costume? And additional question: what was the most what's the word? Difficult. What was the most difficult cosplay for you?
Well, this one actually took me 4 weeks because it was a costume I had been planning for quite a while. So when I started making it, I could just take out all the drawings I had already made of how I was going to do it. So I was really like, let's make it. Most of my costumes aren't that expensive because we get our fabrics from a local market in the Netherlands, and then it's not that much per meter. And a lot of we are really lucky because we are also sponsored for a lot of our materials. So all the plastic that I use, I get from my sponsor, and in return I give them photos of how I make it. So for me, it has become really difficult to really determine the cost of my cosplay because I get a lot of it, all the materials for free.
Yeah, we do have a strict budget, but we can spend more of it on fabrics, which is actually really nice because you can get nicer fabrics.
Yeah,
I do think we are usually rather slow with costumes.
Normally slow. Yeah, this one is an exception.
A few months. Yeah, but hers was a speed build, but usually we take 2 to 3 months. And for really elaborate costumes that we use for competitions, we can work up to a year on a single costume or 2 costumes in our case. For instance, I made a Widowmaker from Overwatch, and I really wanted to use latex for it because she's so metallic and wet lookish. But I had never worked with it before, so I just started learning how to work with latex, and then 1 year later, I was Widowmaker.
Yeah, and for me, the most difficult costume was Tracer, because like I of course had to match her, and I wanted to make the quad accelerator, and it has like an infinity effect, so that it looks like I have like a hole going through me and to the back. And there were a lot of other like tricks in the costume that I really had to research for quite a while to make it work the way I wanted it. But so we were both like, why did we choose these?
Like,
but
why did we do this to ourselves?
But yeah, we were at Gamescom at the Blizzard competition, and the audience and everyone from Blizzard, like, it was totally worth it, and I love those costumes.
We ended up standing in front of the Overwatch logo, which was a big mistake because we could not leave, like physically could not leave, but it was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So
I think it depends on needs, because time that you will spend on making cosplay, it's very specific. It depends on the costume. The shortest time that I've spent on costume was 1 week, maybe, maybe 5 days. Yeah, it's about 5 days. And the longest costume I've made, it was Garus, and it was 9 months. But it depends on need, because when we are working for the companies, usually we will get max for weeks for making costume, about 1 month. So most of our costumes are like a month of work.
I think minimum is about a month to make a costume. My longest one was a 3 month, but I made it for a competition in France for finals, and it took about 400 euro to make. It was a monster, but I'm really proud of it, so it worked it.
And speaking,
there's a question.
yeah, there's a question.
And what happens? Okay, you make a costume, you go to convention, you show it, and what happens after that? Do you refit parts for some other costumes, or you have somewhere in your home giant collection with all those costumes, or what happens after?
We sell a lot of our costumes, and we've also thrown some away, and then later we got messages from people like, why did you do that? But like we have actually been moving a lot and getting like to bigger apartments, and we had to throw away some costumes, and I think we offhandedly mentioned it at some point, maybe in one of our live streams or something, and then we got a lot of messages like, no, and I wanted to buy that one, because like normally we have just sold a lot of older costumes.
For me, it's a little bit different. I've sold one of my costumes for now. All of them are lying in my parents' house, and I like them. Sometimes I decided to remake the costume, because I don't like some of parts of the costume. Like in my plans, I'm planning to remake the Thanatos from Smite, because for me the mask was too big, and that was my mistake during making this costume. So for me, the costumes are staying with me. Sometimes, maybe once, I've sold a costume, but I like them and I like to have them. I can make costume if they are asking me for selling costumes. I always answering that I can make another costume for that person, but I'm never selling my own costumes.
So speaking about money, yesterday you had a panel about how to earn money by being a cosplayer. So just a short resume, you can earn more money from cosplaying than you spend it on your costumes?
To be honest, I kind of go on for zero if you count the cosplayer. I mean, okay, it depends. If you're making costume only for yourself, like there's no company involved, you're just making your costume, usually selling the costume after you're happy with it, you take some photos, some videos, you're just like bored of it, for example, is usually getting you to a zero because of the materials cost so much. If you're working and making costume for a company, usually you should get paid for the materials, for your work, and after that, if you are performing in the costume, you should get paid for performing. Is it just a normal work for your hourly wages? So usually, if you also keep the costume, in some cases you can. If you sell it after that, you also go for plus. So it's actually an income.
Okay, and remembering your first cosplay, how did you feel in your first costume?
Okay, maybe I start. For me, my costumes are always terrible to wear. My first cosplay was basically black material, mask on the face, metal elements of the armor, and it was over 30 degrees. So my costumes are very sweaty, yeah.
What was the character?
It was Witch King, but comparing to Garus today, it was also very hard because I make up very big costumes. Not often I make costumes that look like humans, so they are covering face. If the basic rule is like, if you will cover your face with helmet, hood, or mask, you will be very hot. Yeah, because most of the heat is going to the head. If you decide to make costume without the mask or hood, you will be very comfortable. Yeah, it's not a matter of weight because this guy is weight over 30 kilos, but the matter of having mask on the face.
Yeah, I was just really happy to meet so many new people and just to kind of show off like all the work me and my grandparents did, so that was really happy. But I do have to admit, I wasn't really feeling it to make more costumes at first. I was really like, oh, this was just like a project that was really with me and my family, you know, my aunt and my grandparents and everything. But it was like because we started working together. At first, I was more like helping her, and then at some point, I was all like, you know, maybe we should like start doing duo costumes and really start like more like doing this as a hobby together. And then because she was actually entering one of the Dutch preliminaries for like the international finals, and when I saw that, that's when I really got that spark. Like I saw like all these huge costumes on there and like all these details and like everyone like doing all these performances. And because I was a dancer before that, I was really like, oh, I can work with this. And then we started doing like preliminaries together, and that's kind of how it went for me.
For me, it was just awkward. It was just awkward because before I made costumes, I wasn't very girly. Like makeup for me was like, so when I just put my first makeup on, actually my first costume was a dress. I had the first pair of heels. God, it was so bad. I nearly killed myself. So yeah, after the years, it went better. I hope so.
Yeah, how did you feel with your first costume?
I think I used to be like super starry-eyed, like everyone I saw, I just fell immediately in love with, you know, like I was so amazed by the cosplay community and all the creativity. And then I went through a few years where I was just like very self-conscious and like my own costumes were not good enough and like I loved everyone else, and then I saw myself and I hated it. And I'm so happy that now I am back to actually my old self, where I'm just like starry-eyed and I'm just happy to see everyone, and it actually feels really good to like feel like a young cosplayer again.
So what is your best advice? I believe you are asked this question most of the time. What is your best advice for a first-time cosplayer?
Do you want to?
Yeah, I have an advice, basic advice. Don't give up, because making cosplay, making costumes, props, whatever you decide to make, it's a lot of mistakes. If you would see how many mistakes we are making during cosplay making, there are tons of mistakes. And the basic rule is not give up. If you make a mistake, you will learn. You will not make the mistake again. So it's a basic rule for cosplay making.
Yeah, that. But also, I think when you start cosplaying, at first you also kind of have to ask yourself, like, why do you really want to start making that costume in particular? Like, do you really love that character? Or are you doing like a group with your friends? Because he started like with this whole sewing class group, so you know that's a lot of fun. So I see a lot of people now that have a lot of trouble starting with cosplaying because there are so many cosplayers now that like won awards and are doing like all this like traveling, and then you look at them and then you're like, oh, I can never do that. But like, yeah, they also started somewhere, and I think if you really focus on like having fun and like, you know, just embodying the character that you really like, and then, you know, you'll learn the same skills. You'll be meeting other cosplayers, and they'll be giving you advice. And if you really want to keep growing, then there is a lot of tutorials like you can Google. And I would like definitely advise that, like, have fun. Don't worry, you don't have to be perfect. Like the first time, I find it more important that you just have fun and like, yeah, just really like what you're doing.
I would go the other way a little bit. I would say, make sure that you work on the basics. Like, if you understand the basics, then all the advanced work will be easier. And same goes for, like, for instance, patterning. If you get your patterns right, all your sewing will be easier because you will have less adjustments afterwards. And I wish like somebody had told me that when I started out, because I hate making patterns, so I would always rush the patterns and then would spend hours like trying to fix all the mistakes that I made in my pattern. So get your base right, and then the rest will be easier.
Also, if you are making armor, just use D-rings and stuff like that. Like, don't bother like with really intricate, like, I mean, if it's really cool, like, sure, but if it's your first time, yeah, you know.
And don't use hot glue for gluing
No
any
hot glue, please.
zippers or other stuff. No, it doesn't work.
I bet marketing and the communication into social media or into your websites is also a big part of what you do. How do you do it? How do you communicate, and what do you communicate with your fans?
Yeah, Shopee is the best in that.
Yes.
No,
It's
yeah.
just actually learning from my own mistakes, really. The only one thing I have to tell you that it really takes a lot of time. And if you see some cosplayer doesn't answering to you, please don't be offended. Honestly, our inboxes are so full, we can't really handle that. So please just understand that cosplayers are just having a lot of stuff to do. Besides that, please, if you want to be, you know, successful on social media, you have to be active. So don't forget to, you know, to post daily or maybe second day. Just post pictures of what you're doing, what you want to do. Just try to, of course, engage with your fans or friends. Just try to, you know, ask them questions like, hello, I'm making this costume, so how about you? Are you making something new? And just try to encourage them to talk to you, to build a community. It's going to help you so much. And also, if you meet those people later at the convention, it's going to be so much better because you have so much subjects to share, to talk, just to, you know, to share questions, everything. So just work hard on it. Oh, we have a question.
We have a question here in the front.
Yeah, the puppy. Very cute puppy.
Sorry, I have a silent voice. I just had a question. If you like, what keeps you going this whole cosplay business, and have you set any goals for yourself, or have you already achieved them? Because, well, personally for me, I just want to see how far can I go in making more and more complicated costumes, and what my skill cap is, you know, and knowing your experience and how many costumes you've made already. What are your goals, or have you already like got them or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I sometimes make these lists of costumes that I still not characters, but more like techniques I still want to like try and learn. So I might write down like, okay, I really want to make like a giant dress, and I want to make like a giant armor where I look really badass, because people, like most of the time I'm actually more of the cutesy characters. Actually, the series is for me a bit of an experiment to be like the makeup is different and everything. So I think that's what also it keeps me going, because I'm all like, yeah, but I still want to make that huge dress, but wait, I still want to make like the huge black spiky armor where like people are like, whoa. So yeah, I think that's why.
If you're a cosplayer, there's always a list, your own list, what you want to do, and that's the reason why you are going, you are developing, because you want to make another costume, and another your favorite costume, and another your favorite costume, and
that list never ends.
yeah, that's the goal. You own giving yourself another goals, and sometimes it also just self-improving. For me, I'm most known for my props, and I'm like to talk about myself as a prop maker. And for me, it's a self-developing. I want to be better in another project and in my another project, and that's the way. And that's the reason why I'm making this again and again and again. And I'm struggling sometimes in making costumes, but I want to be better and better. And I think that every person has his own reason why is cosplaying, why Shapi starts to cosplay and she cosplaying still, and the girls. We all have our own reasons, and you all also have your own reason. But most of all, what is running us, it's like making another favorite costumes, and that's the basic reason.
I want to add one thing about goals. Like, I do think it's really good to sometimes look back and be all like, hey, that actually went really well. Like, sometimes I'm like constantly looking like, oh, I still want to make that, I still want to make that. But sometimes I'm like, hey, we were plant ladies at one point. Like, you were wearing like a huge dress and you were like branches like from your head. And
I was a tree.
yeah, and like that's also what makes me like really confident that if I want to do another really big project, then I just look back all like, well, I think we've looked stranger before, so let's do it.
Yeah, I think this is actually really important, like also looking back on what you've done. Even if you've just finished a costume and you're putting it on at home for the first time, or you're just like in your mirror taking selfies, like that is a super important moment to just be proud of yourself. Like, look at this badass shit I did. Because like I said, I struggled with it a little bit. Like I had a few years where I was so focused on competitions, and like if I won something, then it was just like, yeah, okay, I won something, but I'm still not proud of myself. And if I lost, then I would just be crying for days.
Yeah, and like with the preliminaries, it's all like, yeah, I won, but I have to go to the finals.
Yeah, and like I would immediately get stressed again, and that is so the wrong attitude. It is the worst attitude. And I'm now much more focused on performance. Like there is one performance that I'm planning, and I'm super excited to do it. And now I'm actually way more enthusiastic for the competition as well. Like I don't care if I'm going to win or lose. I just really want to perform and do that performance, and it's going to be super fun.
Yeah, and making cosplay for yourself, like I want to make something, is much more easier than making cosplays for the commission. Because if you are making cosplay for yourself and you have a bad day, you don't want to make cosplay, you don't make it. I will go back to this on 1 week or 2 weeks, and I will make it. If you are making commissions or you are working for the company, or you are making cosplay for competition, you have to struggle sometimes with the deadline. And there's no matter if you don't want to make a cosplay. You have a deadline, you have to make it. So and sometimes it's a big struggle.
Most of you mentioned a list of characters you want to do in future. How do you come up with a list? How do you find the characters?
Play video games.
So you are all gamers?
I'm a gamer, but I'm not playing a lot with games because this is...
because of cosplay.
Because of cosplay. People are thinking that we are playing a lot in games, but basic rule, we are very often have our daily jobs, so it's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and still we have to find the time for our house and for cosplay making. So it's a very short period of time that we can spend on just fun and playing the games. But basic rule is we will see something on the internet trailer, play a game that we like, and just pick up characters from that sources.
Well, we definitely try to play a lot of video games. Like sometimes I'm really like, okay, we're gonna like take a break, and like after you come back from school, we're going to play a lot of Guild Wars 2, and
it's actually almost like, then I'm all like, she asked me like, will you get this part of your cosplay finished today? And I'm all like, yeah, I'll see you tonight. And then she comes home, and I'm still playing video games, and she's all like, Sophie, did you work?
With Mass Effect, actually, with Garrus. You know, she was playing Mass Effect, and I think it was 4 in the morning, so like in the middle of the night, and I heard like crying from the living room, and I was like,
I got a bad ending.
Yeah, so
I got a really bad ending.
I'm like, are you still playing? I thought we were going to go to bed like in an hour after me, but no. And she was like, I killed Garrus. So yeah, she's very serious about it. She's very serious about her video games.
I have to ask you a question. Did you miss on the Citadel?
No, I did not.
Oh,
I did not misunderstand. I was all like, there you go, you smuggler. I don't have a crush on Garrus, but she does. Like, I like Liara.
I was romancing Garrus, and then Miranda killed him because she didn't hold up the shield, and I was like, ever since then I hate Miranda. I'm sorry, Miranda fans.
I've
She
played.
called her new PC Miranda, so every time the PC doesn't do the things she wants, you can all like, I still hate Miranda.
I've played female only for Garrus. So.
Of course.
That,
There.
Let's continue.
We have a question, yeah.
I wanted to ask, what materials do you use for your costumes?
Every.
Which materials do you use for a costume? That's right?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically everything and anything. For Aloy, she's like a scavenger, post-apocalyptic, and I really got into that mindset, so I started scavenging everything for that costume. So I had my fabrics that were all scraps from like and like car leather and all that, and one of the necklaces that she wears is actually like a bike lock that I sort of like took apart and then took only the parts that I use. So yeah, it can be anything.
Yeah, and for weapons and armor, is it better to use like something wood or armor or iron? Sorry.
Can you repeat?
Is it better to use iron or wood for weapons?
Iron or wood?
Wood. Yeah.
Oh.
It's better to use plastic, well, at least for
Or
me,
plastic.
because I am not
Yeah.
all that strong. So if I had to like wear like iron all day on my costume, I mean, this is real chainmail, so that's actually kind of heavy. That's just because I wanted the chainmail look. But for all the other armor, we use like plastic sheets that we can heat. So there's like thermoplastic, and then you heat it, and you can bend it into the shape you want, and then when it cools down, it stays in that shape. So you can build like all your armors with that.
It's also, it might be Poland, but in the Netherlands, most like iron or metal is not allowed on conventions, and
Because it's
wood only
dangerous.
like very small pieces, and they will sometimes weigh your props or like try to bend them, and then like if they bend, you can take them inside, and like if they break, then they're broken, and you can just throw them away. Like security is super tight.
Like travel by airplane a lot, and if I am bringing like a lot of iron or metal stuff with me, I'm probably gonna go over the weight limit. I mean, this already was, I think this is about 3 kilos of chainmail just for the small parts. So if I was wearing like even bigger parts, I would have some trouble with my suitcase.
yeah, material depends. What you use, it depends on your needs. So sometimes you're using EVA foam, sometimes wood, sometimes metal. Sometimes there are also restrictions about conventions that you want to go, so you have to adjust yourself to the regulations on that convention. For example, Gamescom is very restricted in cosplay making and cosplay props. Last year, any props was prohibited. In this year, they were allowed, but with the restrictions. But we are using a very different materials. Sometimes, for example, in Garrus, I was using for my sheens watering can, from IKEA. So you just find something in the hardware store or other stores, and you have this in your mind that you are working on this costume, and okay, that will fit in my costume. And it's always our favorite materials. For me, it's PVC and resin. Sometimes if I'm rushing costumes because I don't have time, I'm using EVA. But we like to mash up materials. So EVA with PVC, with Warbler. Each material is kind of purposes, and we try to use the best material for that to make a good cosplay.
Basically, you guys have to understand that cosplayers are not, they're not LARPers. We are not supposed to find in the armor, we're supposed to look in the armor. For example, have you seen the contest yesterday? Have you seen one of the contestants having a huge sword, and this girl was like doing crazy shit with it? Can you imagine this being a steel? No. And can you imagine this steel like falling from this stick to the crowd? No. So, foam is safe, foam is cool.
We have a few more questions.
Hello. Have you ever used a 3D printer for props that have intricate details that need really attention, but you can just load the model, put it on for a few hours, and then while you're working on something else?
Using 3D printers is also very tricky because you have to spend time for model making. It's a lot of time for modeling. You're spending time printing this, and it's hell of work during sanding and smoothing props. So sometimes it's way much quicker making for myself as a kind of elements into the cosplay with different materials than just putting into the 3D, because it will take a lot of more time than making element with myself, with my hands. So it depends on needs, because now sometimes the 3D printer is very good, like for printing guns, but now I'm making Destiny cosplay, and I make a hand cannon 40 centimeters long in, I don't know, 1.5 days with already with the painting, and try to do this on the printer. I don't think so it will fit.
Thank you.
One more question here.
Hello. Have you ever got any resistance out of cosplay world from your friends or from your family? Because for your young cosplayers, sometimes their parents really don't like this hobby, or their friends say it's weird, like, what are you dressing out? So have you had resistance, and have you any advice how to deal with it?
I think any one of us will have his own stories. Question for our four. For me, I was from a way more different community when I started to make cosplays, and basically I lost all my friends because of this. But I've met another ones better, so I'm not regretting that. And my parents, from the beginning, they was very. They tried to support me, but their attitude was changed when I've made my first, second, and third cosplay. They started to see that I'm much happier in my life doing cosplay. And now they are supporting me. And friends, they go and go away. If you lost your friends, you will meet another ones, better ones. So I will not... It's a matter of attitude, yeah.
Yeah, with me it was also, at the start, it was hard to show my parents that I'm not childish, that I'm not going crazy. No, mom, I'm good. Actually they showed them that what I do is good, was competitions. I started to take part in competitions in Poland, and I started to get some prizes, and they noticed that my work is not like just childish plays. Actually, something that I win prizes, I'm awarded, I'm not like having fun with cardboard. I actually am working so hard, and they started to support me, and now my family is very proud of me, so I'm very happy.
Yeah, I actually can't imagine like my family not supporting it, because I started cosplay because of my family. So for me, it's a bit like, oh, really? That you had to like tell your parents and stuff? Like I'm all like, well, yeah, it's because of my family I started. Yeah, at school and stuff, like people would celebrate if we were going to another finals. They would be all like asking, like, oh, are you going to China? Oh my God, you have so much fun there. At her. When she got her bachelor diploma at the university, they actually also congratulated her during that, like, oh, by the way, she's not only like a dentistry student, she also makes award-winning costumes and got 3rd place in China, blah, blah, all that stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know.
So can I just add? Like,
Yeah.
that is not how it started. I mean, I'm really happy that I'm
but I was all
in
like,
that.
whoa,
Yeah.
even your school is like congratulating you, like, good job.
But my parents were also super strict, so I totally feel that. And I actually ended up sort of bribing them, because I said like, oh, but I'm learning skills, like I'm learning how to sew, and then we had pants that were too long or something. I would be all like, but I can sew, you know, like you want me to fix them for you? I'm learning all these skills. And that actually really helped because they sort of started to understand, like, oh, you can also use these skills in daily life for, you know, simple things. And even now, like now I'm a dentist. When I'm filling a tooth and then you have to like sort of make it look pretty. I mean, you don't have to, but you can. And I always try to. And actually my teachers always tell me like, oh, but your sculpting skills are so much better than the other students. Like, how does this happen? And I'm like, well, you know, I have a Dremel at home too. So that actually really helps. And it helped for me to tell people like, yeah, okay, I make costumes and I dress up, but do you know what kind of work goes into it? Like, do you know the skills I've learned over the years that I've taught myself and from books, and I like show them all my books that I have, and that actually really helps. And people are like, whoa, really invested into this. And especially with my parents, that helped. I'm more like, you know, yeah, like Shapi said, I'm not going crazy. I'm actually developing myself as a person.
Yeah, and if it helps, like, so I have like the really cool parents, and she has like the really strict parents, but like now we actually had a family meeting, and now like also like her uncles and aunts and like nephews and stuff were all like, whoa, so you're like famous now, right? Like, that's really cool. So things can change as well, even when you start out with like the strict parents that you have to bribe, like, but mom, I can fix pants now.
It's not a phase, mom, it's who I am.
Once I've told that at least I'm not smoking and drinking, and that's a classic, but it works. But it was like, yeah, good point. Okay.
You know what was also helpful? To not fail your school. Yeah. Just don't fail school, and your parents should be happy. Really, it works.
So, any last questions from the audience? And we are completely running out of time. Here is one question in the front.
Hello. What is more important in a costume, the costume or the performance?
It depends on contest, because rules to contest are very different. You have to read the rules, because sometimes the points are more, they are giving you more points for crafting, and sometimes for the performance. Sometimes it's half to half. Basically, it depends on the type of contest.
I think it's important to remember that it should be half-half, usually. I mean, not only the contest, but usually if you're in a convention, you should really give it a try to act like a character, because you can make so many people happy with your skills and just looking at a character, acting like a character. For example, we have John Sparrow here, Captain Jack Sparrow, and I believe that he is acting so well as a character. So I really he made so many people happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we also try to implement the accent, so maybe you can, like, when she was practicing for Widowmaker, come on.
Do it. We dare
Bonjour,
you.
everyone.
Oh, come on, you can do way more than that.
What do you want me to say?
Like, just use your French accent. But anyway,
Just use your French accent, she says.
So anyway, for us, it's, yeah, we do really like doing those little, like, details, like with how they move. Everything, but we are very stage focused. So on stage we are very in character, like when we're doing our performance, but otherwise it's mostly the costume. But we do think that in a contest, yeah, the act is also really important. Like sometimes you have 10 participants that all have like really amazing costumes, and they kind of are all like on the same level, and it's really difficult to determine who is going to win. And then sometimes it's really the act that really turns it around. Like suddenly someone who was like together with like 6 other people in the same scores, like suddenly they like bump up, and it's like, whoa, okay. Then act can really make a difference in a contest.
Like make them remember the competition.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you are deciding to go to contest in the group, this is more important, because when you are in the group, you can make way much more on the stage. Performing single on the stage is very difficult, because what can you do in single stage? But there are also contests like, I don't know, this Spain contest that you are going, it's based on catwalk, I think.
There are 2 types of the awards. You can win for the best performance, which is group, and the best solo, which is only costume. So you just walk and look pretty.
Yeah, so it's contest that you are going on the catwalk. Just go in, go out, and they are evaluating your skills on your costume.
Okay, any last questions from the audience? Yes, here in the front.
Black warbler or the regular one?
Black.
We
but I don't like
always
warbler.
fight. We always fight over that. I'm so sorry. It's like some kind of, it has kind of become a meme. Like we have our crafting show, so we do like little streams about that, and sometimes we're really like, okay, now we have to go get the warbler, and then I bring her the black warbler. She's all like, no, get the warbler. So she means like the regular one.
Real warbler.
I'm like, what do you mean real warbler? Like black warbler's warbler too. Like I use black warbler for like all of these, so I'm all like, oh, it's fine. Yeah, so I'll first explain why I like black warbler. So like you get two sides. Like I like black warbler because it's smoother than the regular one, so I just can easily, like it's easier to get the armor look that really is like smooth and everything.
But it also depends on needs, because brown warbler has a stronger glue, so it's glue better to the other stuffs.
That's exactly
and the
what
black
she tells
one,
me.
it's basically it sticks only for itself. So it depends on the needs.
Yeah, well, I'm a big
I mean,
black warbler fan.
regular warbler is sturdier, but it's a little bit rougher. But like you can build with it. It can defy gravity. It sticks to itself. It doesn't come loose. It's all over, just better.
Yeah, well, I will add to it that black warbler, like I always sandwich it so I don't fold it. And I will admit that with normal warbler, I could just fold it. So that saves me a lot of warbler. So when I use black warbler, I do have to use double as much to make sure that everything is really sturdy and everything.
Black or brown?
Eva foam.
And foam, but I mean, we need foam too, so you know.
Foam is the best and the cheapest.
PVC.
My Polish onion heart is happy.
PVC is good too. Like for Commander Shepherd, we also use PVC. So I agree, but
You want
with
a
the
good answer
question,
for
black
that.
warbler versus regular warbler. Answer is black warbler is the best one. You should all use that one, and she's rogue. Wow, rude.
But in Lithuania, you can very easily get also PVC, and I saw that many people are here using PVC like me. So maybe PVC?
Yeah, every person is different, so you kind of cannot ask us.
Yeah, like even in the team, we are definitely not the same.
Okay, and for a quick close-up, maybe a sentence from you all, just encouragement word for a new cosplayer.
I think I'll quote Edna Mode from the fabulous movie The Incredibles, and she just goes, "Go, fight, win!"
Yeah, well, now I don't have like any snappy, cool meme or like anything.
We're not cool anymore.
No, like, she now outshined us. We should have gone that way, like that. Oh, sorry, now I'm like implying that you don't have anything cool to say.
Oh, thank you.
Like encouraging, well, I'm just gonna have to say, like when someone starts on their costume, I'm always already so happy to see someone like working on a character of, and I'm already like, hey, like you can do it, and if you wanna like get even more skilled at the techniques, you wanna try more, you can. Just like take the time. Do the research, and also ask questions. Like a lot of cosplayers, like us included, like I mean, Shapi of course said that our inboxes are often very full, so we can't respond right away, but we are very willing to. So if anyone ever has questions, just come to us. And yeah, like there are Google tutorials, crafting shows like ours, so there's a lot of things you can watch to see how to do it.
Just do it, guys. Like seriously, just do it. And have fun, because without the fun, probably the cosplay will be very, very boring and sad thing to you. And don't listen to haters, because some people will try to drag you down. Don't let them do it. You're amazing, you are great, and you can do it anyway. So just do it.
Yeah, if you decided to take this journey, no matter if it will take 5 weeks or 5 years, at the end, you will be a better person, more complete person. So, and you will know more about yourself, about making stuff. Sometimes it helps even in your house. You can, I don't know, paint your house, so it will help. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all, and have a nice event.